Here we are. Let's go and knock on the door, shall we?
Hello there.
Mr. Rapley,
Yeah.
are you ready for a brew with a view?
I am indeed, yeah. We haven't got much of a view here, it's all frozen.
It's a bit of a cold one, isn't it, eh?
Yeah. Right, come in.
Come in, let's do it.
I've got the kettle on.
Excellent. What we're going to talk about today then, Mike?
I've been thinking about that really, Phil. COVID and the pandemic made a massive change, I think, to the way clubs organised events, and particularly the Autocycle Union, which is the governing body of sport in the UK. Before COVID, before the pandemic, the reality was is that if you wanted to take part in a trial, you did one of two things. You filled in an entry form which you obtained from the secretary, or somehow or another the entry forms were handed out at trials, and or possibly in some centres they still had local magazines, local gazettes, where you had the entry form in the magazine, in the monthly magazine, which was what always happened in the southwest when I used to live down there, or you just turned up at a trial. And I think COVID gave the Autocycle Union an opportunity to effect changes, but in my experience with using the Sport 80 system, it is getting better, but it can't pretend otherwise. It's an absolutely awful system to start off with, particularly from an organiser's point of view, and even now I don't like it. I'm not going to be knocking it too hard, but I'm in the situation at the moment, as we record this, I'm secretary for the Lonsdale trial, which is the first round of the S3 Championship this year, 2025.
What date's that? Can I just interrupt you?
Yeah, January 26th.
Oh yeah, I'll come along and I've come along and film it.
Yeah.
I once rode it. I'm a bit much for the Bull Targo, I think, really.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. January 26th. January 26th.
Yeah.
Starting at Furbank on the Westmoreland Club's own land, where good parking. But as I was saying, taking entries for that on the Sport 80 system, it's okay, but when I look at the completed entry list, they've got two columns, one that says ineligible, one says incomplete or complete, which is okay, but really and truly all I want to know as a secretary, what entries are totally okay. I don't want to know about the ones that are ineligible or incomplete, except that I know from past experience that some of those riders that are still listed as ineligible and incomplete turn up. So I've taken to ignoring that set of entries and going to the financial report, and I now know that if they've paid their entry fee, there's a pretty good chance they're going to turn up. That's the way it is. And then we're talking about entry fees. Of course, the entry fee for the S3 series these days is £35, but no longer do the clubs get the £35. In fact, all the money or most of the money that goes to the ACU goes through, which is an American company called Stripe. They take a commission out of every single transaction. So out of a £35 entry fee, the club only actually gets £33.30, I think it is. So the sport is now funding an organisation which is a money organisation, and I just don't think that's right. I can't pretend otherwise. I do not think that's right. The other issue really that is, there was before COVID, when a club applied for a permit, you sent your regulations off to the centre permit secretary, and they issued a permit, you paid your fee, and the centre was able to take a commission out of the permit fee to help fund the centre.
Yeah.
There's now no income into the centres.
Yeah. So if I could just reflect then what you've said and what you're saying is that possibly brought about by COVID and the need for much more online organisation and much more pre-planning in that sense, there, to sort of wrap it up, it's become much more centralised, and power and autonomy has gone away from the individual club or the local club, and it's gone to it's more centralised, and also financially that's actually become internationalised, and it's gone to an international company. So it's all, the power has gone, the control has gone from the club.
Yeah, you've described it a lot better than I have. So sorry if it's drugged up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what does that mean
exactly.
then for the rider? What does that mean for the rider?
It means that the rider in his entry fee is no longer funding the sport or his local club or his local centre. He's funding the governing body and an American finance company. Yeah.
So just out of interest, so just whilst we're on this kind of thing, so as a rider, and I don't know the answer to this question, so when I pay my entry fee and I go and do a trial, where I tend to ride in the north of England and parts of Scotland, but you know, that's where I ride. When I pay my fee, what am I getting for my money? Where does that, say it's £20, say I pay, you know, for that £20, where does that go typically behind the scenes when I pay that money?
Well, that's simple to explain. Of your £20, £6.15 goes to insurance.
Okay, that's important, necessary.
Yeah, and the ACU are very proud of the fact that the insurance that they supply or that is available for your £6.15 is very good. I'm glad to say I've never had occasion to make use of it, but they tell me it is pretty good. Yeah. So £6.15 goes to the insurance. Certainly the Northern Centre take 50p levy, which is to fund the centre, but that has only been taken since beginning of 2024, when they realised that there was no income into the centre because of the permit situation. £2.50 goes direct to the ACU as a means of funding the organisation.
Fair enough.
Paying staff salaries and general expenses of running a big governing body. And 50p goes to what they call a legal fund, which is exactly that, a fund, separate fund to fight legal cases if and when they arise. A number of clubs, of course, will make payments to officials for doing the job, because whilst at one time where it was all totally voluntary, a lot of club officials now get something for their time and effort, and to pay for computer equipment for. Not everybody would have had the computer equipment and their time. You know, that being a secretary is a time-consuming job. Trust me, I know that. I do enough of it. It's a time-consuming job, and of course, a lot of clubs have to pay a fee to landowners, possibly £1, £2, maybe £3 per head to the landowner. So if you've got 40 entries and it's a £3 a head, you've got £120 going out to the landowner. And also clubs, some of them pay for observers. Most of them generally give some sort of gift to the observer. So generally speaking, you can say out of your £20, probably anything between about £12 and £16 goes out in running the event.
It's turned over.
Turnover. And what's left is the profit to the club.
That sounds pretty fair enough, really, to me.
It's a cheap sport, to be fair. I think everybody would agree that trialling is a cheap sport. And it's clubs do need to have a regular income if they're going to run events. Having said that, a lot of the clubs are quite wealthy, because once they've got that profit, it's sometimes quite difficult to know how to spend it. A good number of clubs do have land.
Yeah.
And have managed to buy land.
Yeah.
Westmoreland have been very fortunate.
Yes. Yeah.
In that they own 2 pieces of land, one of which was bought in 1993, and the other piece of land was bought, I think, in 2001, 2002.
Yeah. No, that's very good actually, because that land, I seem to remember, was, I might be wrong here, but I seem to remember, especially during COVID, it's really great that the club has autonomy, ownership of the land, because they have, it's just easier to arrange access, really, I guess. And it's just great to have access to land, isn't it? And I suppose it's I think it's good that they've got the land. Yeah.
Yeah, it's access to land for trialling is not anywhere near as easy as it used to be, which is why so many videos that you see of taken at trials, particularly as you head towards the south, so much of the land has been modified by addition of brought in rocks and concrete sewerage drains.
Brew with a View 1 discussion.
Yeah, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
and of course the other thing is that it relies, a lot of it in the UK at least, relies on agricultural land and farm, which is used by farmers, and their goodwill for access, whether it's through a shared common land in the moors, or whether it be specific agricultural fields. But often farming communities and the farmers also provide that land, don't they?
Yes.
Yeah.
Some clubs are very, very fortunate with landowners who are very willing and able to allow their land to be used. So it's that, which is great. But being realistic, no matter how keen the farmer may well be, it's only any good if the land is good enough for a trial. We're lucky up in the north.
Yeah.
Crikey, we've got some fantastic land.
See Brew with a View 1.
Yeah, some fantastic land for trials.
Yeah.
But having said that, there's nowhere near the same amount of land available now that there was when I first moved north.
Yeah.
40 plus years ago. I used to ride in trials up here on land that just not available anymore.
So there's a learning point, isn't there, or a take-home point for everybody, that, like it or not, for whatever reason, we need to be respectful of our access and of the landowners that gain us access, because that relationship and that access is critical. And if it's demising, if it's going down for whatever reason, then, fellow, sports people out there, we've got to just be mindful of that, really.
Yeah.
Just be
the one thing I do notice, generally speaking, if I've been secretary at a trial, it's not, and I nearly always observe these days, it's not often that I leave before the end, and I mean, my van could well be one of the last vehicles that leaves.
Yeah.
The one good thing that you don't necessarily happen elsewhere for other events, there's just no rubbish.
Yeah.
I always walk around the land that we use, or Westmoreland own. I generally have a walk around, and if I pick up 2 pieces of rubbish, I reckon it's been a bad day.
Yeah, I think you're right.
People are very good.
Yeah, that's excellent. That's true. Yeah. So let's just recap where we've got to. So what you're saying, you remind us about the change in the way we are doing it here in England and Wales in the ACU system. We've got this online system, a more centralisation of the system, and then we're talking a little bit about access to land and how clubs are run.
Oh, crikey.
So where do you want to take this? Where do you want to take to move forward? Let's try and end on a sort of what could be a positive note. What could happen? What could we do to what needs to happen to improve, or what's good about where we're going and stuff. I mean, let's just take a moment to celebrate those great organisers that organise the events without being naff or cheesy. I mean, goodness sake, also, people like yourself who are volunteers, that, you know, there's countless people I know around the community that organise events. They just put them on, and most of them are doing that out of pure goodwill, enthusiasm for the sport, putting something back in. And actually, from an organising point of view, the sport wouldn't happen if it wasn't for a lot of people just getting off their backsides and doing something.
Yeah, that is so true.
Pleased to say I did my bit the other day, trying to help out with the Red Rose Club with marking some sections out. It was quite good fun, actually. There was a group of us. We went down to Cockerham.
Yeah, I was there.
The day before. I know you were. You were observing, doing your bit. I went down the day before with some people. It was led by Brett Willis, and some of the other guys were involved in helping out. I went along to help. What was quite interesting was when you get a bunch of people together. Actually,
it's great fun.
It is great fun.
It's great fun.
We had a right laugh. We were giving each other a bit of stick and trying to, and actually, you know, just going to a bit of land and imagining a section. You know, that's quite a fun thing to do.
It is. Yeah, I used to love doing it. I've done plenty in the past.
Yeah.
But age has just caught up with me. Just can't do it anymore.
But
don't walk as well.
Yeah, but we can still do our brew with a view,
yeah,
right?
We can.
So brew with a view.
Right.
So there we go. Brew with a view.
We'll have that.
Yeah, we'll have that one. So let's just, before we wrap this one up, I just wanted to say to you that remember, folks, that life's too short not to ride and watch Two Wheels Off-Road.
And subscribe.
Thank you. Cheers.